Good morning. Welcome to the Weather Desk. I'm Meteorologist Craig Moeller on this Friday, the 8th of May. I am so glad you're with us here as we're broadcasting from the 13 News Now studios, serving Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. But with the Weather Desk, which is a half-hour show dedicated to covering weather, we don't just focus on Hampton Roads. We take a look at stuff going on around the region, across the country, sometimes around the world. We get into climate and space, all kinds of science-related stories, and I think we've got a great show lined up for you as we tackle today's top weather headlines. Let's get into some of the subjects we'll be running through on today's show. You can see we have that U.S. Drought Monitor update. This actually dropped yesterday morning, and we touched on it briefly. We were covering rain across the area. I will tell you, our local viewers in Southeast Virginia, the Hampton Roads area, and down through the Outer Banks, we got some much needed rain. Other areas weren't so lucky. We'll talk about that, who made out well and who's still struggling, so stay tuned. Then we're going to talk about the western U.S. because there are more problems out that way. We've talked about the snow drought in Colorado. Well, that's leading to, and will continue to lead to, lower flows along the Colorado River. And we're going to talk about other communities downstream that rely on the Colorado for some of their water. There are more and more water concerns out west. That's a story we'll have for you coming up. In addition, we have the latest on the Georgia wildfires. You know, we've talked this week about wildfires out in Arizona. There was one up in North Dakota that we were watching as well. Those fires in much better shape now, but we'll talk more about a couple that have been burning down in Georgia. Again, they've seen somewhat weather down there, but it's been so dangerously dry, exceptional drought down in those areas, and that sets, all of this, grass and ground, maybe tree debris or whatever. There's a lot of fuel for wildfires that do catch, and there's a couple we've been watching down in Georgia. Updates on that in a moment. We also have reports of severe weather from the south, more tornadoes down across parts of Mississippi. We're going to hear from one family that was affected by 2 different tornadoes. So a lot going on down there. I'll also have the severe weather outlook, what we can expect over the coming days. We also have the important work of hurricane hunters. We talk about those hurricane hunters, the planes that fly through the hurricanes. We'll explain kind of how they do all of that. Right now, they are on tour and down in Mobile, Alabama, ahead of the hurricane season as part of Hurricane Preparedness Week. So we'll show you what they're doing right now, and then again, kind of an appreciation for what they do during the hurricane season. I'll also have, because this is Hurricane Preparedness Week, I'll have some important things you should be doing now that we're not even into the hurricane season, some things to start thinking about what you can do now to get ready for the upcoming season. So stay tuned for that. Mother's Day weekend outlook also upcoming, and it's going to be a pretty good one here across Hampton Roads. Let's start off by taking a look at the heavy rain that we saw yesterday, and the heavens opened up. It seemed like it's been forever since we've had some really significant rain, but basically a frontal boundary slowly pushed through our area, and with that orientation of that front from northeast to southwest as it was coming through slowly, there was a lot of moisture that was kind of training into the area, and that's why we saw some places like Roanoke Rapids 1.86 inches, Ahoskie 1.72, over an inch in Franklin and Suffolk and Chesapeake, about 1.5 inches in Norfolk. At Oceana, it was a little bit lighter. You also saw some lighter amounts down around Edenton and Elizabeth City. But this area, mostly south side and right along the northern parts of North Carolina near the state line, we got some very heavy rain there. Now, the parts of our region that needed to get some and just didn't get much, I look off to the north. Melfa, just 0.05 of an inch. Saluda, just barely more than a trace. West Point, about 1/10 of an inch. Wallops, 0.15 inches. These areas have been under severe drought as well. They needed a lot more. They did not get it, so that's still going to be a concern. This rain here, as heavy as it was, is not in and of itself a drought buster. It does help, no doubt about that, but but we need additional rain. As we take a look at the U.S. drought monitor, you can see we still have severe drought up on the eastern shore, the northern neck, the middle peninsula. The peninsula also now included in the severe drought. What you see across the south side here, and keep in mind, Norfolk got 1.5 inches. What is depicted on this map? This is actually through Tuesday. So they get all of the reports in across the country, the updates on Tuesday, and then the folks with the U.S. Drought Monitor, they compile all that data, and they release this image on Thursday. So while this came out yesterday morning, it certainly didn't account for the rain yesterday morning. We'll have to wait till next week to see if this pushes back up towards moderate, or whether we see some of these areas down here kind of cleared from the extreme drought. We'll see. I know that the rain we got yesterday helped. We'll see how much as we get next week's drought monitor update. As you can see, there's still extreme drought out across western parts of the Commonwealth, Lynchburg through Farmville and back up towards Stanton. You can see Charlottesville still in severe drought, but it becomes a little more extreme as you head out towards Stanton. Down south, South Boston, Roanoke Rapids, down through Rocky Mount, Raleigh. These areas got a lot of rain, so that should help. Raleigh still in extreme drought. And then you look here to the east of Charlotte, and they have exceptional drought there. Another area dealing with exceptional drought. Look at the extreme drought over so much of South Carolina as well. You get down to the Florida-Georgia line here and North Florida through southeast Georgia. This area, exceptional drought. Again, we're going to revisit a couple of wildfires and update you on the progress to try to contain those fires. That'll be coming up in a moment. But very, very dry conditions despite showers and storms. Then out west, this is where we have the exceptional drought and the snow drought that's been occurring up in Colorado. Earlier in the week, we talked about a good heavy snowfall and winter storm warnings for the Denver area up through Cheyenne. That helps. Again, that was earlier this week. Hasn't really contributed yet much to the drought monitor because that was coming in, I think it was Tuesday into Wednesday. But at any rate, we're going to see these levels still very, very dry out there. They just had the one winter storm. And the dry conditions across Utah and so much of Colorado, that leads to other issues. I want to talk to you about that right now. The Colorado River is a lifeline for millions across the West, and it's showing warning signs this morning as water levels drop and negotiations drag on how to preserve it. Communities along the river are starting to see the impacts up close. Karina Bizarte reports from Yuma, Arizona.
The Colorado River looks a little different today.
Just a couple weeks, the river looked very lively, but now it's just drying up. It's a sad sight to see.
It may not actually be drying up yet, but what we're seeing here is real. The 7 Basin states are still working to reach an agreement on a plan to preserve the river.
Governor Hobbs.
Yesterday, Governor Katie Hobbs was in Yuma and talked about the latest plan to avoid catastrophic water cutbacks.
The alternative otherwise would be putting the brunt of all of the Colorado River cuts on Arizona, and we just can't afford that.
But the clock is ticking. Many of the people from Yuma and San Luis who came to the river today are surprised to see how low the water level is.
It's going to be a lot more tougher for these people to get the water that they need because the water comes from here and a lot of the canals around the area. So with all this drying up, it's just water access is going to be very hard to get to nowadays.
Marcus Lopez says he's come to the river since he was a little kid, and today he's concerned about what he sees. Elsa Garcia says she and her friend were shocked when they saw how it looked today.
We came during spring break and it was full. People were jumping into the water, but today it's dry and we're just getting our feet wet.
It is something to continue to monitor. Again, that Colorado River provides water for so much of the Southwest. So we'll continue to monitor that. As you can see, some parts of the country are doing better. We do have good conditions generally across the Great Lakes. They were dealing with flooding rains over the past few weeks up across parts of Michigan. Of course, Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, parts of Missouri and Kansas have been hit with a lot of severe weather as well. And we'll get into our severe weather outlook coming up in just a bit. We'll go to the radar right now. Nothing severe across the upper Midwest. It looks like we've got a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. Let's take this full. I'll go ahead and zoom into that area very quickly before we continue with our coverage, because that is a brand new thunderstorm warning. I'm just going to zoom in down here across central Louisiana around Bunkie. You see that just south of Marksville and south of Alexandria. That's a larger town there that you might have heard of. As we take a look at this, let me just put up the information on this. That notch right in here. Well, we're going to move this. Let me pull this down, because what we have is a severe thunderstorm warning. There is this little kind of notched area right in here that we'll watch, but at this point, National Weather Service is not indicating any type of rotation or anything associated with that. We do have the severe thunderstorm warning, and that will run until 9:30 East Coast time, 8:30 Central, and about 13,500 people impacted by that. So that's what's happening right there. I told you we were going to update you on a couple of wildfires. We'll take a look here in Georgia, where 2 wildfires are still burning in the southern parts of the state. The latest numbers from the Georgia Forestry Commission: the Pineland Road fire has burned more than 32,000 acres since it began, and it's sitting right now at 66% containment this morning. Meanwhile, the Highway 82 fire has scorched more than 22,000 acres and sits at 85% containment. Now, we talk about these containment numbers, but you might wonder, how exactly is that measured? Ryan Shoptaw from our sister station, Ken's, explains.
Planes and helicopters get a lot of attention in wildfires, but they mainly play a supporting role, slowing fires down. This helps firefighters to build their main product, a fire line, a physical line in the earth, cleared of things that can burn. They cut line with bulldozers and hand crews, hacking out trees and brush as they go. The fire line can also be an existing highway or road if crews keep the fire from jumping over it. Calling a fire contained means making a fire line all the way around it. Then firefighters work toward control, putting out the hot spots to keep it from jumping over the line. In a really big fire, that can take months to do.
And again, the good news, firefighters have gained the upper hand and do have more containment on these 2 fires. We will continue to follow that, and we will look at wildfires all across the country and always keep you updated on those from the Weather Desk as well. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're hearing from a Mississippi family who is picking up the pieces from a tornado that hit their home for the 2nd time in decades. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I was just taking a look at some of these storm reports, tornadoes again in Mississippi, and there was a powerful one that was out there in Franklin County overnight. That was to the east of Brookhaven. Again, some of these reports may have been coming in from that same tornado, but we want to take a look at this one, this powerful tornado that tore through Franklin County overnight, leaving behind widespread damage and hundreds without power. For some residents, the destruction feels all too familiar. One woman says this is the second time a tornado has hit her home after the first storm flattened it completely. As families begin to pick up the pieces, stories of survival, close calls, and a community coming together are emerging from the storm's path. Teddy Reedy reports.
You know, they say, tornado never hits twice in the same place, but as a witness to it, that's not true. You never know when the storm's going to destroy your house.
Wallace and her family have seen their fair share of bad storms. This is the second time a tornado has hit her property. The first completely leveled her home.
This is the second time that we've had a tornado hit our house. The first one was back in 1983 when my parents were still living. The house was not so lucky that time. It was flattened. This is the third time that the house has been rebuilt on this foundation. And but we just count ourselves as being lucky and a blessing to be alive.
You can find uprooted trees and power lines across Franklin County's rural communities. Hundreds of people don't have power. We spoke with a Brookhaven resident who says he rushed from his home to Garden City Road, where his mom was trapped inside her car for hours.
I was actually on my way out here when I got the call from my mom saying that she was trapped in between two trees, one in the front and one in the back of them. And she was trapped from like 6 to like 12 a.m. last night. So, and the damage that's been done, like, it's unexplainable because it's gonna take a lot.
So let's take a look at where we have some storms right now, and there is that one warning in central Louisiana. So we'll take the maps and get into that as we zoom into Louisiana. You see this area, and I still think this is a little suspicious as we zoom in. It is a thunderstorm warning, not a tornadic warning. I do not have the velocity profile available right now on this. It's not set up for that as we're looking at this live. But I do want to point out there is a kind of a little notch in here, which I do think bears watching. When you take a look and you see something like this, some of this intense rainfall here kind of wrapping back around. What I can tell you, the National Weather Service does have a warning out, and this is going to run another 12 minutes, and this includes Bunkie, Cottonport, Mansoura, and Simmsport, some of the cities there down in this parish. About 12,600 people under this severe thunderstorm warning. They are concerned that there could be hail with this system up to about 1.5 inches in diameter and some winds gusting around 60 miles per hour. So it is a healthy storm to say the least, but there is a little bit of a notch here that I think we need to continue to monitor. I'm sure the National Weather Service and local forecasters down there have a good handle on that. As we look back across Texas, south of Lufkin, you can see some intense rain moving through Corrigan and some of these other areas, Trinity, back south of Crockett there. We've got this rain. It's all moving off to the east, and we're going to continue to see some potential for some stronger storms down that way. As far as the overall severe weather outlook goes, it's a level 1 threat for these areas that I'm showing you right now dealing with some of this. The greater threat for severe storms today back across Oklahoma, and you can see Oklahoma City also under this elevated tornadic risk. Some of the other communities there extending just off to the south, Chickasha, I'll say it, Stillwater, back over to Tulsa, Veneta up through Bartlesville in Oklahoma. Kansas, you can see this is off to the southeast of Wichita, but rich down through Independence back over to Joplin, Missouri. That's an area hit so hard by a tornado years ago. The wind and the hail threat, great as well for these locations. You see kind of a second tier of hail threat there, but you could see some hail forming anywhere in some of these storms down along the southern coastline here and back into South Texas as well. Greatest wind threat also in Oklahoma. As we look forward to Saturday, severe weather threat a little farther to the west, but the same general regions being hit with the potential for severe storms. And then I think it opens up a bit more on Sunday, a greater threat of severe weather back across central Texas. So the Dallas-Fort Worth area, areas down to the south, maybe Austin, those areas will need to pay super close attention with the developments over the coming days. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're taking a look at how the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, is gearing up for hurricane season. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. So you know we are getting closer and closer to the start of hurricane season. This is Hurricane Preparedness Week, the hurricane season officially starting June 1st. National agencies like NOAA are making sure that they're ready for what's ahead. During their annual Hurricane Awareness Tour, they stopped in at Mobile, Alabama to meet up with the hurricane hunters. Stephen Moody has the story.
The 2026 NOAA Hurricane Awareness Tour made a stop right here in Mobile Tuesday, giving us a rare up-close look at how forecasters track and study storms. It happened at Mobile International Airport, where we met hurricane experts, scientists, and crew members who play a key role in keeping communities safe during severe weather.
I love to see all these agencies out here, ourselves, NOAA, emergency, the EMA, just because it takes more than one to make sure that the news and the information and makes everybody safe. So it's not always just the hurricane hunters and NOAA. It does take a village to make sure everybody comes out safe with knowledge.
One of the biggest highlights this year, 4 different aircraft were on display, including NOAA's Hurricane Hunter planes and a U.S. Air Force reserved aircraft, all used to fly directly into storms to collect critical data. And for those who've seen the worst that these storms can do, it's important that they shared their knowledge.
I am from the coast, so knowing Hurricane Katrina whenever I was in college here, it's a huge impact, and it's definitely one of the reasons that I decided to become a hurricane hunter, just because I've been on the back end as a normal individual, just trying to evacuate, trying to figure out what I'm going to do once the storm hits, to now I'm able to help my family and friends and anybody else along the Gulf Coast who I consider a family, just to be as prepared as possible.
The tour comes as part of National Hurricane Preparedness Week, which runs through May 9th and serves as a reminder for families to get a plan in place before storms threaten the area.
The brave men and women that fly into those storms, the hurricane hunters, provide so much information that is absolutely critical to helping us understand how these things are moving and how they're behaving, and that really improves the forecast along the coastal areas. So thank you to the hurricane hunters. I'm happy to report right now in the tropics, no tropical activity is expected over the next 7 days. You might be saying, well, Craig, great, it's May. Hurricane season starts June 1. Guess what? Over the last couple decades, we've had several storms form outside of the hurricane's traditional season. So it's possible you get into this time of year, especially with warm sea surface temperatures, you could get some tropical development. Not right now. So what can you do right now? As part of the Hurricane Preparedness Week, NOAA suggests, hey, determine your risk. You do this now before we have to worry about any hurricanes. Determine what your risk is from rising water and wind. Think about that. Begin preparing now before the storm threatens the area. Learn how to understand hurricane forecasts and alerts. Of course, we keep you updated here at 13 News Now, but they've got great information with the NOAA website. You can visit weather.gov/hurricane, and they've got explanations of all of this, and learn what to do before, during, and after a storm. All right, again, officially hurricane season begins June 1. We're going to take a short break right after this, so look at the Mother's Day weekend. All right, so we've got a pretty good looking Mother's Day weekend coming up. Skies are going to start off with mostly sunny to partly sunny conditions on Saturday. Highs are going to be closer to 80. There is a chance for a few stray showers Saturday afternoon. Our futurecast really isn't showing much, but some of our other models are indicating there could be a few isolated showers. On Mother's Day, mostly sunny in the morning, becoming partly sunny in the afternoon. Showers are possible by evening, but not likely. I really think it'll be late evening or past midnight. Showers start to develop on that time period, kind of Monday morning early, and then we are going to see unsettled weather coming up on Monday. Yesterday, tree pollen and grass pollen were low with all the rain. Today, with the sunshine, it's back up there again. High tree pollen, grass is moderate, mold continues to be low. We are going to find pleasant conditions across the region today. Decent amount of sunshine, temperatures into the low 70s, upper 60s for some. Tomorrow, as we go through the day, you don't see much in terms of precip showing up here, but there might be a stray shower or two. As we get into Sunday, this is where temperatures jump up into the lower 80s for highs. It's going to be a warm one. We'll see the rain chances coming up on Monday. You see that with showers likely, temperatures in the lower 70s. Near 70 on Tuesday, mostly sunny, and isolated showers potentially on Wednesday as well. Again, some additional rainfall, not a bad thing for Hampton Roads. We still need it. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk. We do it each and every weekday morning starting at 9 o'clock right here from 13 News Now. Have a great weekend and a happy Mother's Day. We'll see you next time.